لا لأزليته انقضاء وانحسرت الأوصاف عن كنه معرفته وردعت عظمته العقول والذي لا تواري عنه سماء سماء ولا أرض أرضا. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيد البطحاء سيد المرسلين والأنبياء أبي القاسم محمد المصطفى وعلى الجوهرة القدسية البتول العذراء سيدة النساء فاطمة الزهراء وعلى بعلها أمير المؤمنين وبنيها الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. لا سيما على بقية الله وحجته الكبرى الذي بيمنه رزق الورى وبوجوده ثبتت الأرض والسماء ولولاه لصاخت الأرض بأهلها واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من حين عداوتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله. وقال الإمام الصادق عليه الصلاة والسلام: ما من عيد للمسلمين أضحى ولا فطر إلا وهو يجدد لآل محمد صلوات الله عليهم فيه حزنا. صلوات. Tabrik, congratulations to all of you respectable brothers and sisters, as we are here to commemorate a series of Eids. The birth, first of all, the birth of our beloved Prophet Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and likewise the birth of our sixth Imam, Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq alayhi salam, and what we call as Eid-e-Zehra. And I, inshallah, intend to talk about the Holy Prophet in tomorrow's speech. And in this speech tonight, would like to discuss a bit on the later two, that means about our sixth Imam and about this occasion of Eid-e-Zehra. First of all, the hadith from our sixth Imam, which I recited in the beginning, where he says that ما من عيد, there isn't any Eid lil Muslimin adha wala fitr, there isn't any Eid for the Muslims, whether it's the Eid al-Adha or the Eid al-Fitr, إلا وهو يجدد لآل محمد صلوات الله عليهم فيه حزنا, except that it renews for Ali Muhammad the sorrow and huzn. That means every time an Eid comes, whether it's Eid al-Adha or Eid al-Fitr, the huzn and pain and sorrow of Ahlul Bayt gets renewed. So this is what we want to discuss tonight. Why for the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, when we are celebrating and we are happy, which we should be happy, because this is a sign of every mu'min, يَفْرَحُونَ لِفَرَحِنَا وَيَحْزَنُونَ لِحُزْنِنَا. The sign of every mu'min is that they celebrate and they feel happy over the happiness of ours, and they are sorrowful and mahzoon over the sorrow of ours. So we are supposed to celebrate on one hand, but on the other hand, we have to be mindful why it renews the pain and huzn for Ahlul Bayt. So I'll come to that point inshallah very soon. So first of all, like I said, I would talk about the milad of our sixth Imam, and again then we'll come to the point of Eid-e-Zehra. Imam As-Sajjad alayhi salam has been narrated. He has said that, which I'm paraphrasing all these narrations in my words, he has said, when somebody asked him that who shall be the Imam after you, and Imam alayhi salam said that it will be Muhammad al-Baqir, who is going to dissect and open the knowledge. Baqir in Arabic means, Baqara yabquru means to open up something, to dissect, to rip apart open. So he's going to open up basically our fifth Imam opened and expanded the knowledge, tafri'ul usul, expanding and branching out the fundamentals and the principles and the teachings of Islam. So it started from his time. Then the Rawi and narrator asked the Imam, who shall be the Imam after him? And Imam Sajjad replied that my father told me from his father, from Amir al-Mu'mineen, that he learned from Rasulullah that it will be, when it will be Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq. In other words, when fifth of my children will be born, name him in the name of Ja'far as-Sadiq. The Ravi says, well, why is he called Sadiq, whereas all of you, the 12 Imams, all of you are Sadiq? Isn't it right? Everyone is Sadiq equally. And Imam alayhi salam replies back, he's the one, Imam said he's the one whose name as Ja'far on this earth, and for the Ahl al-Sama, for the dwellers of the heaven, he's called as a Sadiq because fifth of his son is the one who is going to claim the Imamat and will be called in the eyes of Allah as Ja'far al-Kazzab. As if I see him complaining to the Taghut of his time against Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, and they are coming to spy upon the Imam regarding the birth of Imam, regarding Imam al-Askari alayhi salam. Please say salawat. So we find that the lineage of our Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam it goes back to from his mother's side. His mother, he used to be commonly known as Ibn al-Mukarrama, the child of the honored lady, because the history says, Mas'udi has narrated that the mother of Imam Sadiq was the most pious woman in the whole world at that time. So her name is Fatima bint al-Qasim bint Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. She's from the lineage of Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Didn't Imam Ali alayhi salam say in his hadith, Muhammadun ibni min sulb Abi Bakr? Muhammad is my son from the sulb and lineage of Abu Bakr. And when someone asked that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, why didn't Imam Ali just kill every one of his enemies straight away, instead of just leaving his enemies? Imam alayhi salam replied, li ayatin fi kitabillah, for the sake of one ayat in the book of Allah. And then Imam recites the ayat, law tazayyalu la azabna alladhina kafaru minhum adhaban alima. So if they did tazayyul, if tazayyul had happened, in other words, we would have definitely punished them with the painful torment. So he said to Imam alayhi salam, what does it mean? What is the meaning of tazayyul? And that's where Imam explains that there are children being born from the kafir parents. There will be mu'min children, in other words, who will be born from the kafir parents. So basically, the sufuf and the ranks of mu'mineen and kuffar was not separated yet. There were several mu'mineen which are going to be born from the kuffar. So that's not the time for the kuffar to be, to be punished for their crimes. So we find Hazrat Fatima, commonly known as Farwa, is one of the greatest ladies in the history. Imam alayhi salam himself, talking about his mother, says, Ummi mimman amanat wattaqat wa ahsanat wallahu yuhibbul muhsinin. My mother is one of those who had iman and taqwa and ihsan, the good deeds, and Allah loves the ones who perform the good deeds. Similar to what the statement of Amir al-Mu'mineen wa Imam al-Muttaqeen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, where he had said when Hammam ibn Ubadah came and asked, to Imam Ali alayhi salam, Sifli al-Muttaqeen, describe for me the pious people. Isn't it right? We have the khutbah of Hammam in Nahj al-Balagha, a very famous khutbah where Imam Ali talks about the attributes and sifat of muttaqeen. So this is what Imam Ali alayhi salam had also said something similar to that at that occasion. Ittaqillaha wa ahsin fa inna Allaha ma'al ladhina taqaw wal ladhina hum muhsinun. That means have the taqwa of Allah and do good, do ihsan and goodness, because Allah is certainly with with those who have taqwa and the ones who do the good deeds. So Hazrat Fatima Farwa Salamullah alayha was doing the tawaf of the Holy Kaaba, and while doing the tawaf she kissed the black stone with her left hand. Well, first of all, black stone, that's not the subject of my speech to elaborate on the concept of Hajj and the black stone, but it's another extremely interesting subject of Islam. This black stone has been brought from the heaven, from Jannat, and placed only through the hand of a ma'soom. This is one of the signs of a ma'soom. No non-ma'soom can dare put the Al-Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone, on the corner of the Holy Kaaba, which we call Rukn al-Hatim. Every corner has a name assigned. It's one of the signs of the Masoom. This stone right now, which you see installed at the Holy Kaaba, is installed by Imam Waliul Asr al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan al-Mahdi, Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, alayhi salam. So this stone is Yaminullah fi ardhihi. The hadith says Yamin in Arabic means the right hand. This is the right hand of Allah on the earth. So we put our hand and we kiss. We do the bay'at as if we are renewing our oath of allegiance towards the Imam of the time. Isn't it right? We read the du'as. Even the Wahhabis, you go to Makkah, even the Wahhabis won't block you from kissing the black stone, not because Rasulullah kissed it, but say because Hazrat Umar kissed it. So they will never stop you. They will stop you from kissing the wall of the Kaaba. Isn't it right? But they will never stop you from kissing the black stone. So we find we put our right hand and we are doing bay'at with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is the right hand of Allah there installed by the Imam of the time. And we read the dua, Misaqi ta'ahadtuhu. This is my covenant that I am doing towards you. Fashhad li bil mawafat. Be a witness towards me in my favor that I was faithful towards the walayat of the Imam of my time. This is what we are saying, in other words, to the black stone itself, which is a living creature of Allah. It's not dead. Actually, nothing is dead. It's our jahl and ignorance, that ignorance, like me, consider the things in this universe around us as dead, whereas our Urafa say, then how can we do a sin when everything around us is watching us with their eyes wide open and registering our deeds? So Hazrat Fatima Farwa kissed the black stone with her left hand while doing the tawaf, and we find Abdul A'la has narrated that I saw there was a person present and he objected on Hazrat Farwa by saying, this is not, قَدْ أَخْطَأْتِ السُنَّةِ. You made a mistake about the sunnah of Rasulullah. And she replies back to that person, Inna la'aghniya'u min ilmika. We are mustaghni. We don't stand in need of your knowledge. Please say salawat. This is the mother of Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam alayhi salam himself, when he visits the Kaaba, he enters into the Haram, he wears the Ihram, and the Ravi says, I said to the Imam that, say, now is the time to say Labbaik, Allahumma Labbaik, isn't it right? We all say that, that's wajib. Imam alayhi salam replies back that I am afraid that if I say Labbaik, Allah may reply back to me, La Labbaik wa la Sa'daik. You are not welcome. Obviously, Imam alayhi salam is always welcome. This is how the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam are teaching us. When we go for the Hajj and we perform our faridah towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if we have man talabba, من حج البيت بقذارة المال أو استنى بسنة الجاهلية ولبى نودي لا لبيك ولا سعديك. The hadith which I narrated, the Madmun Riwayah, it says that whoever goes for Hajj with the najis money, qazarat al-mal, anyone who goes for Hajj with the najis money, or wastanna bi sunnat al-jahiliyyah, or he's following a sunnat of the time of jahiliyyat in his life. In our lifestyle, we have sunan, we have traditions, we have customs of jahiliyyat present in our lifestyle. And then we go to the holy Kaaba and we say Labbaik. It is on behalf of Allah, this nida and call is given to him. You are not welcome. So this Hajj belongs to only those people who have taharatul mal. This is a place of taharat. So we find that Imam alayhi salam was used to wear very simple and clothes that have patches, just like his fathers, just like his ancestors, just like Imam Ali alayhi salam. Isn't it right? Imam Ali alayhi salam's shirt had several patches on it. And definitely his lifestyle was the lowest of all the fuqara and poor of his time. And when someone objected on the Imam asked him to read that statement. There was a statement written there. He asked, and that statement read that La imana liman la haya lahu. Someone who doesn't have haya, he has no iman. Well, all of our values are great, but some of the values of our beautiful religion are so great that they are equal in their value and status to the entire religion, Islam. If that value is not there, the whole religion is gone. And one of those few precious values is haya. So this is the first thing. And the second thing which was written there, wala mala liman la taqdira lahu. Someone who has no planning about how to spend the money has no money. If we don't have the planning about how to spend the money, we will end up having no money. We are not rich. The actual richness comes when we do the taqdeer and planning how we are supposed to. There is no problem in Islam in making money from halal, You can make as much as you can. You don't find any restriction in the Holy Quran or the Hadith anywhere that you cannot make money more and more from halal. All the restrictions in Islam are on spending of the money. So, wala jadida liman la khaliqa lahu. Someone who doesn't have the torn or the worn things, the torn up things, the old things, have nothing new. So this is how our Imams have been teaching us towards modesty. One of the servants of the Imam, he asked him to go do something, and this servant went there and he just slept. Look at this. This is where we learn how much, when we talk about the azamat and greatness of our Imams and their Nuraniyat, there are certain reasons which Allah loves. And there are certain reasons and evidences that provide Nuraniyat to the Imams. Let us look towards those reasons. Isn't it right? So Imam alayhi salam went to find his servant, and he found the servant is sleeping. Instead of fulfilling the task, he's sleeping. Imam alayhi salam is blowing the wind with his hand over that slave instead of becoming upset. This is what some people say, Maulana, मैंने तो अपनी ज़ौजा को ये कह दिया क्योंकि मैं बड़े गुस्से में था इसलिए मैंने बुरा भला कह दिया. I was so upset and angry. That's why I said this and this and this, to my spouse. But that's where the test is. You fail the test. You can never find somebody to say something wrong when he's happy. The test of ours is, what do we do? How do we control ourselves when we are in anger situation? That's where the whole test is. Look at how the Imams were controlling their anger in the times of anger. This is what provides Nuraniyat to the Imam. Whoever, man kaffa ghadabahu, hadith says, kaffa Allahu anhu adhabahu. Whoever controls his anger, Allah will control his adhab away from him. Please say salawat. So we find that before the shahadat of the Imam, he asked somebody to give some money, something to one of his relatives. And this relative is the one who attacked Imam Sadiq Rizam with a dagger. And this person said to the Imam, you are giving this thing to that guy who attacked you with a knife? Imam alayhi salam replies back that, do you want me not to be one of those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah has mentioned in the Holy Quran, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has praised for staying in touch and doing silatul rahim and staying in touch with our relatives. And then he recites this ayat of Holy Quran, الَّذِينَ وَالَّذِينَ يَصِلُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَن يُوصَلَا. This is another point that provides the Nuraniyat. It's very important, brothers and sisters, that we discuss these points when we are celebrating the birth of our Imams. Which family you can find in this world who doesn't have good and bad people? Isn't it right? Every family has some people, isn't it right, who are good and some people who are bad. So we find that it's not a big deal if we stay in touch with those of our relatives who are doing good behavior towards us. Again, this is something that everybody can do. If you can, if you can stay in touch with those of the relatives who do bad behavior towards you, this is going to provide the real Nuraniyat to your qalb. This is how our Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam used to operate. This is one of those long list of reasons why they had the Nuraniyat. Not just if somebody stopped talking to you from your relatives, isn't it right? You are not supposed to stop talking to him. Once in a while you can send an email to him, isn't it right? You can text him, you can call him once in a while to say salam and ask how is he doing. So we all can do that, isn't it right? No matter how far you may be living. That doesn't justify not to be in touch. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq. One of the reasons why the ages have been decreased in these times and people have shorter ages is precisely the fact that they have stopped relationship with their relatives. It's confirmed that a person is going to die in early age. It's confirmed in the light of the hadith. So we find that our Aimma alayhi salam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam has been only approximately, we discussed so much, Imam has 4,000 students, isn't it right? When he started his lectures in the Masjid of Medina, it's documented in the history, 4,000 students were present at one time in those days where the population of Medina was also very less. It is a big deal that there are 4,000 people sitting at one time and learning from the Imam in the Masjid of the Prophet. When Banu Umayyah and Banu Abbas were busy in their fights about the government, and Imam alayhi salam took the best benefit of that time in spreading the teachings of Islam and strengthening the foundations of our religion. 4,000 people studying there at one time. But the same Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, who has 4,000 students studying at one time from him, could not find 17 people to support him in his agenda. Isn't that pathetic? Isn't that shameful for the Muslim community? The same Imam who has 4,000 people, masjid is full of his students. That's why we always say, we don't go about how much beautiful is the construction of a masjid. The Wahhabis have probably way more beautiful and decorated and adorned mosques than some of our mosques. Isn't it right? And you can find so many of the synagogues which may be even more beautiful, in terms of their building. And that's there in the history. Masajiduhum amiratun wa hiya kharabum min al-huda. Their masjids will be well constructed, but it will be void of hidayat and guidance. We go to a masjid after finding out who is the alim standing in the mihrab or sitting in the mimbar. Isn't it right? The walls of the masjid or the ceiling can never provide guidance to me. Isn't it right? So the entire value of the haram of Karbala is because of the great personality of Imam Hussein alayhi salam present in it. Otherwise, we don't worship stones in Islam. Isn't it right? The entire value of the Holy Kaaba is because of Allah and because of the birth of Amir al-Mu'mineen wa Imam al-Muttaqeen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Otherwise, we don't worship the stones. Isn't it right? The entire value of Makkah, Quran says, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, La uqsimu bihadha al-balad. Allah is swearing upon this city of Makkah. Why? The Quran itself, the next ayat mentions why. وَأَنْتَ حِلٌّ بِهَذَا الْبَلَدِ. As long as you are in that city. So the reason why Allah has sworn upon the city of Makkah is because of the presence of Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How my teacher Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli Hafizahullah was saying in his tafsir, La hurmata lil balad al-amin lawla Muhammad al-Amin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There is no hurmat and dignity for the city of Makkah if you remove the presence of Rasulullah the Amin. There is no hurmat and dignity remaining whatsoever for the city. We don't worship stones in Islam, isn't it right? So let's be very clear that, the same Imam Sadiq who has 4,000 students, let's make our criterias and mizan straight. So we adapt ourselves to the values and principles of Ahlul Bayt so that we can succeed into the walayat of Ahlul Bayt. So we find Imam had 4,000 but not 17. 4,000 students but not 17 who can sacrifice. So when Sudair as-Sayrufi comes from somewhere and says to the Imam Sadiq alayhi salam that why don't you do the qiyam? You are the Imam, you are the Khalifa, you are the Hakim, you are the Mawla. You are supposed to install the government of justice. Isn't that right? That's the job of every Imam to do. And Imam did not reply back to his question. Didn't answer to his question. And Sudair says, I was waiting for the reply. After a while, Imam alayhi salam went out. He ride the animal. I went with him. We went out of the city, outskirts of the city, get off the animal and somewhere in the desert, in the outskirt. I also did, followed the Imam. Imam started to pray. And I also prayed. And after he was done with his prayers, that's where the Imam in the desert pointed towards the herd of sheep which was present in the desert. And Imam says, لَوْ كَانَ لِي شِيعَةٌ بِعَدَدِ هَذِهِ الْجِدَاءِ مَا وَسَعَنِي الْقُعُودِ. If I had Shias equal to this many sheep, in other words, it was not permissible for me to keep sitting. Imam is sitting, and he's supposed to do the qiyam, and right, he cannot. So when we talk and about the Imams, let us discuss what they went through. And I'm very soon coming to the point why every Eid increases in their pain. Very soon I'm coming to the point. How Imam himself has mentioned that it renews the huzn and sorrow. So now Imam didn't have 17 shears. So there says, narrated in Kafi, I counted the sheep there and it was 17. So Imam's, even that period when he was teaching his lessons in the Masjid of Medina didn't last for long. The Taghuts are obviously, they're protecting their interests, isn't it right? So we are sleeping. We, the followers of Ahlul Bayt, was sleeping. That's just like Imam al-Kazim alayhi salam said, Inna Allah ghadiba ala Shia. Allah became angry over the Shia. فَخَيَّرَنِي نَفْسِي أَوْ hum. Allah gave me two options. Nafsi, either I protect my life, or hum, or I protect them. That means my Shias. Then Imam al-Kazim says, فَوَقَيْتُهُمْ وَاللَّهِ بِنَفْسِي. I swear to Allah, I protected them by sacrificing myself. We have been protecting our lives, isn't it right? And allowing the Imams to get slaughtered, and 11 of our Imams became shaheed, they were killed. We are protecting our life in the name of taqiyya, isn't it right? Another of those long list of concepts which are upside down, generally speaking, in our communities, because the source of knowledge from whom we are learning the knowledge are the Jahil Khatibs, who themselves never studied the knowledge of Quran and Ahlul Bayt, and they can never teach what they never know. Isn't it right? So we find people think that taqiyya means protecting our life. Isn't it right? That's how you ask people, why did you do this faridah towards Allah? No, Maulana, we are doing taqiyya. Oh, you are doing taqiyya, mashallah. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, At-taqiyyatu dini wa dinu abai. Taqiyya is my religion and the religion of my forefathers. So we learn all the Imams did the taqiyya. That's why Shaheed Mutahari Rahmatullah Alayhi said, taqiyya means protecting your religion. Isn't it right? So all the Imams were doing taqiyya, they were protecting their religion. They did not protect their life. That's why they became shaheed. None of the Imams protected their life. That's why they became shaheed. 11 Imams became shaheed because they were doing taqiyya. That's true. They were protecting Islam, not themselves. We are doing the taqiyya because we are protecting ourselves and allowing Islam to be sacrificed. So we find this has happened. So now we find Imam Sadiq is no different. The pain that the Ahlul Bayt went through in these times. So we find in that short period of approximately 2 years, he produced such remarkable personalities, which are considered, some of the greatest ashab of Ahlul Bayt are in the time of Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Like whom? Like Zurara ibn A'yan, Suma'a ibn A'yan, 11 members of this great family. We call them in Ilm al-Rijal. In the knowledge of narrators, we call them Alul A'yan, 11 members of the family. All of them are authentic. Thousands of narrations narrated. Aban bin Taghlib. Aban bin Taghlib is such a great faqih in the time of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, one of his students, who narrated 30,000 narrations alone from the Imam. Didn't the Holy Prophet say, Man hafidha min ummati arba'ina hadithan mimma yahtajuna ilayhim min amri dinihim wa dunyahum. Whoever memorizes from my nation 40 hadiths, 40, mimma yahtajuna ilayhi, about the things that they stand in need towards it. Min amri dinihim, about the affairs of their religion. Wa dunyahum, affairs of their dunya. Ba'athahu Allahu yawm al-qiyamati faqihan alima. Allah will resurrect him on the day of judgment as a faqih and alim. If you happen to memorize and practice 40 hadiths of Rasulullah, that's enough for you to be resurrected as a faqih. So Aban bin Taghlib protected and defended 30,000 hadiths of the Imam. Such great personalities, You just think of those 30,000 and we get astonished. We don't even have time in our 60 years of life to read 30,000 hadiths in our life. Isn't it right? Some of us are like this, generally speaking. So Aban is so great that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam himself said to him, Ijlis fi majlis al-Madina wa aftin nas. Sit in the masjid of Medina and issue fatwa to the people. आज तो बाज़े लोग कह देते नहीं नहीं नहीं, हमें तकलीद की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं, हम तो मौला अली की तकलीद करते हैं। हम भी मौला अली ही की करते हैं तकलीद, हम क्या 12 इमामों के अलावा किसी और की करते हैं? We also follow the same 12 Imams. Who else? But the same 12 Imams are asking us to do the taqleed. This is the teachings of the same 12 Imams, the teaching of Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam. Even there was fatwas issued in the time of Ahlul Bayt, not just in the Ghaibat time. Imam Sadiq says to Aban bin Taghlib, Ijlis fi majlis al-Madina, sit in the masjid of Medina, wa aftin nas, issue fatwa to the people. Fa inni uhibbu an yura fi shi'ati misluka, because I love, certainly I love to see among my Shias likes of yours. अगर लोग अबान जैसे बन जाएं, इमाम को ये पसंद है, महबूब है कि हम इमाम अबान बिन तगलिब जैसे बन जाएं. इन्नी उहिब्बु अन यकूना फी शिअती मिस्लुक. So this Aban bin Taghlib, and likewise we have great companions coming from the Imam al-Jamil ibn Darraj and Abdullah ibn Muskan, Abdullah ibn Bukair, Hamad ibn Osman, Hamad bin Isa, Abu Basir, Jabir al-Ju'fi and Zurara, just to mention few of those which are in the fiqh. And likewise in Ilm al-Kalam, the Usul al-Din, we find people like Mufaddal ibn Umar, salamullahi alayhi, such a great personality, unique in our glorious Shia history. And Hisham ibn al-Hakam, who was a young man, but such a great mutakallim and kalami and scholar of Usul al-Din, that he defeated several great big scholars of the opposition of Imam alayhi salam. And Imam Sadiq respected him uniquely in the presence of some of the Bani Hashim Sayyids. And some people said to the Imam, Mawla, you're respecting this young boy, this young man. He was very young. Hisham was not an elderly person. You're respecting him like this? He was respecting him in a better way than he respected some of the others. This is how Imam used to respect the greatness and the service and the jihad of Hisham ibn al-Hakam. So we find enemies were not, silent. What they did is that they brought Darbari mullahs. Now is the turn for Darbari mullahs. Who are those Darbari mullahs brought? We find Qatada, isn't it right? Abu Hanifa was asked, and Imam Malik and so forth, then Imam Shafi'i, Imam Hanbal, isn't it right? They were all, they came in. Qatada was the official Darbari mullah in those days. And these people at Tawagheet used to arrange gatherings to insult the Imam every now and then. Once Imam was forcibly brought to the Darbar of Taghut. Our Imams never used to go there, isn't it right? Voluntarily. It's not even allowed to do that in Islam. So we find Imam was forcibly brought and Qatada was prepared to insult the Imam. Standard policy of Banu Umayyah and Banu Abbas. Isn't it right? So Qatada has prepared 40 questions. Now that Imam showed up, everybody miraculously with the ubuhut, jalal, azamat, haibat, shaukat of the Masoom, his greatness, his majesty is so high that even the enemy is forced to stand up and respect him. Everyone stood up in the respect of the Imam. They asked him to sit at the most noble spot in the gathering. And that's where Qatada, Imam said, do you have a question? Qatada said, is eating cheese halal in Islam? And Imam said to him, is that the kind of question you have? Obviously, it's a childish question, isn't it right? Even a child knows what's the answer. He said, no, Yabna Rasulullah, I had prepared some complex question to ask you as a matter of fact. But when I saw your majesty, all the questions were as if they're erased, they're gone from my mind. I forgot all the questions. That's where Imam alayhi salam says to him that, do you think you are sitting in front of an ordinary person? In other words, and he recited the ayat of Quran which I mentioned in the beginning of my speech. Fi buyutun anta bayna. Imam said, in other words, anta bayna yaday buyutin azin Allahu an turfa'a. You are in the presence of the houses azin Allahu an turfa'a. Allah gave the permission to be elevated. Yuzkar wa yuzkara fi hasmuhu, and his name be mentioned in those houses. Yusabbihu lahu fiha bil ghuduwi wal asal. Allah's tasbih, Allah is glorified in those houses in the mornings and the evenings. Rajalun la tulhihim tijaratun wala bay'un an dhikrillah. Men who are neither engaged, by a business or transaction away from the remembrance of Allah. No business and no transaction can make them engaged away from the zikr and remembrance of Allah. And Qatada said, Yabna Rasulullah, yes, this ayat of Holy Quran which talks about, fi buyutin, in the houses. These houses are not the houses made of clay or wood. These are the houses of you, the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, are intended by Allah. So we find Sufyan al-Thawri and Ibn Abil Awja and likes of those were installed by the Tawaghit to water down the huge impact that Imam Sadiq al-Islam was making by his lessons. Thousands of students, hundreds of thousands, more than 100,000 narrations. So this impact was tried to be, diluted by the Darbari mullahs. And unfortunately, we find the same policy of Darbari mullahs even today, isn't it right? So we had Darbari mullahs in some other sects of Islam, but we never witnessed in the history of the glorious Shia religion, we never had any Darbari mullahs, isn't it right? But unfortunately, in these times, we are witnessing Darbari mullahs also, unfortunately, in our community, isn't it right? So this is something that we need to remember and identify and open up our eyes. So we find that Imam alayhi salam, Dhurais al-Kunasi, narrates that Imam says, talking about this ayat of Holy Quran, Kullu shayin halik illa wajhah. Everything is devastated except his face. That means the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything is even devastated today. Har cheez, ahle halakat abhi bhi hai, siwaye Allah ke chehre ke. And Imam alayhi salam, doing the tafsir, says, Nahnul wajhul ladhi yu'tallahu minhu. We are the face that everyone is given whatever they are given through us. They are the wasatatul faiz. We are the ones, we are the wajh of Allah. Please say salawat. So we find that Mahzam says that I went for the ziyarat of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and I spent the night. I rented a house in Medina. Imam Sadiq is a resident of Medina. I rented a house in Medina. I went for ziyarat, rented a house in Medina. There was a kanis, there was a female maid in the house. And what I did in that night before going to meet the Imam tomorrow, I touched the hand of that female maid. When next day I went to see the Imam, we are talking about the birth of the Imam, isn't it right? So we don't cause the pain to be renewed for the Imam alayhi salam on the Eid occasion. I'm coming to that point very soon. So Mahzam says, I touched the hand of the female maid in the house which I rented in Medina. Next day when I went, Imam asked me, where you have been? And I lied to the Imam. I spent my night in the masjid. Throughout the night I was in the masjid. There were people who were lying in front of the Imam. Can you imagine? Imam already knows about the whole universe before the universe was created. Their noor was the creation number one. As-Sadirul Awwal, Al-Khalqul Awwal, An-Nurul Awwal, Al-Qalamul Awwal. The first pen, the first noor, the first product, the first creature. Everything. Some of the narration says, tell us 500,000 years before the creation of Adam. They are the first creatures. Everything is created in front of them. They know it inside out. Before the things are created, they know them. There are silly people who lie in front of the Imam. Isn't it right? So Imam replies back, Ama ta'lam, don't you know, in hadha al-maqam la yunalu illa bil wara'. Don't you know that this status, Imam is talking about the maqam of the walayat. Isn't it right? The maqam of walayat cannot be reached without abstaining from the harams. Wara' means abstaining from the harams. Ahlul Bayt have two maqams. That's how my teacher described in the tafsir. Maqam haqiqi of Ahlul Bayt, the real haqiqat and reality of their personality. And maqam huquqi, the legality, the legal aspect of their personality. Their haqiqi and actual status of the Imams, the Prophet and Imams, is unthinkable, unimaginable, immeasurable, unfathomable. Isn't it right? It's beyond the reach of any human. No human being can digest, understand, measure or fathom the real status and the greatness of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt's haqiqi and real status. That's beyond our reach. So that's not our obligation to even, have the marifat of that, because we cannot. Even if we try, we cannot. We don't have taklif ma la yutaq in Islam. What we cannot, it's not our obligation either. Isn't it right? So then what's our obligation towards the Imam? Our obligation towards the Imam is to believe and obey about their maqam huquqi, what we say in Farsi. That means the legality of the legal aspect of their personality. What is the legal aspect of their personality? What does the Imams relate to me and you? What it relates to me and you is that they are our Imams and we are the Mamumin. They are the Hakim and we are the Mahkumun Alay. They are the Wali and we are the Muwalla Alay. And they are calling the shots and we are obedient blindly towards the Imam. That's what relates to the life of me and you towards the Imam. That we have blind obedience without asking why. Not abusing the aql. Aql was never given to begin with to challenge the teachings of the wahi. Isn't it right? Obedience of the Imam about the teachings of the Sharia. The Sharia descended on the qalb of Rasulullah, the most sacred soul. The Sharia descended from the alamul wahi, which is beyond the reach of alamul aql. If the domain of aql, we who have the aql, even the kuffar have the aql. Isn't it right? So if we people are able to reach and penetrate into the domain of wahi and revelation, why in the world Allah bothers to send down 124,000 prophets? Even the kuffar have the aql. Isn't it right? We cannot reach and penetrate into the domain of wahi. Let's be very clear. So it is intellectual not to challenge the teachings of the creator of intellect, which is revealed in the Sharia. This is intellectual, and it is the abuse of intellect. It is the abuse of intellect to challenge and denounce or question or disobey the teachings of the Sharia in the name of intellectualism. We do have, some of the self-cropping, self-proclaimed intellectuals cropping up in our communities, generally speaking. Isn't it right? Who find it hard to understand. Maulana, it's true, Imam Sadiq al-Islam has said that, but you know what? It doesn't make sense to me. Who are you and what's your sense? What's your status? Who in the world are you to challenge the teachings of the creator of intellect? Who gave you the license to abuse your intellect? But there are people who are abusing it. So now Abu Basir says, I went to Medina and I was junub, in the janabat situation. And next day, bunch of people were going for the ziyarat of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. I thought, okay, let me go with them as well, without doing the ghusl. And Imam alayhi salam said to me, don't you know that in our houses, a junub should not enter? So we understand these are the places of taharat and cleanliness. The more taharat you have, the closer you will get to the Imam. So we find Shakrani, drank alcohol. Shakrani drank alcohol in the time of Imam. Look at Imam, never ignores the harams of the people, unlike some of us. पैसे वाला कोई मिलेगा तो अब बाछे खिली हुई ही करके मिल रहे हैं पैसे वाले के साथ. Right? behavior of some people is different towards the rich and towards the poor. And the hadith says, if someone says salam to a rich person in a different way as compared to he did the salam towards a poor person, he will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while Allah will be, angry upon him. Ghazabnak. Just because he did a discrimination in the way he did the salam. Alhamdulillah, we follow the religion of Ahlul Bayt. Isn't it right? Alhamdulillah, we are not Yahud and Nasara to change our religion. We cannot reinvent the wheel. Just because some people don't like it. Who cares about some people? Isn't it right? We care about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shakrani drank alcohol. Imam alayhi salam cannot ignore the haram. He is masoom. Isn't it right? When Imam met Shakrani, look at what Imam said to him. Al-Hasan li kulli ahadin hasanun wa minka ahsan. A good is good from everyone, but it is better from you limakanika minna, because you have a relation. You have, in other words, you are related to the Ahlul Bayt. You are a follower of Ahlul Bayt. Wal qabihu min kulli ahadin qabih wa minka aqbah limakanika minna. An evil thing, an indecent thing, and a wrong thing is wrong from everyone, but it is more wrong from you because you have a relation with us, in other words. This is how we should think, isn't it right? A muttaqi person is not the person who pretends to be very pious in front of the community. Chun be khalwat mi rawan an kare digar mi kunand. When they go to the loneliness, you find business as usual. Isn't it right? This is not called muttaqi in Islam. Taqwa means the noor a person is carrying inside the soul, which makes him God-weary. So we care that Allah is watching. This is called taqwa. So we find that, Imam alayhi salam, Sheikh Saduq has narrated that one of the workers of the Banu Umayyad government, who used to write down things for the ruler, he showed up in front of the Imam and he said, this Ravi is narrating, he was my friend, he asked me to take permission to make an appointment with the Imam. I processed the appointment with Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. I brought my friend who is a worker in the government of Taghut, Banu Umayyah. He used to write down things. They were historians, isn't it right? People who used to write down history, official history writers and stuff, writing things on behalf of the Taghut ruler. This person showed up and said to the Imam, I made a lot of money because I work with the ruler and I am a katib. I write down for him. So look at what the Imam Sadiq says to him. لولا أن بني أمية وجدوا من يكتب لهم ويجيء لهم الفيء ويقاتل عنهم ويشهد جماعتهم لما سلبون حقنا. Had it not been that Banu Umayyah had found somebody to write down for them, somebody to collect taxes for them, somebody to fight on their behalf, somebody to pray in their jama'at, and somebody, to be there present in their jamaat, they would have never snatched away our haqq. So the haqq of Ahlul Bayt was snatched away from their hands precisely because somebody is writing for them, somebody is fighting for them, somebody is collecting taxes for them, somebody is doing something for them. Isn't that right? In other words, every little bits and pieces are now joined together and the government of Taghut is prospering and advancing, and Imam alayhi salam are isolated. Somebody is doing something. Isn't it right? Now he realized the wrong that he did. He said to the Imam, that وَلَوْ تَرَكَهُمُ النَّاسِ, Imam alayhi salam said, if the people have abandoned them, وَمَا فِي أَيْدِيهِمْ, and what they have in their hands, مَا وَجَدُوا شَيْئًا, they would have not found nothing إِلَّا مَا وَقَعَ فِي أَيْدِيهِمْ, except what will fall in their hands. That means whatever is in the muqaddar, that's the only thing that would reach them, in other words. So we find this guy asked the Imam alayhi salam, okay, what's the solution? I want to just get out of this. Get rid of all the haram money that I've made. Some people, when you talk about haram, they say, no, Maulana, we eat the zabiha, halal chicken, slaughtered in according to the 6 conditions of Islam. Oh, thank you. Is that the only thing which you think is that makes the thing halal? If you're working for the taghut, even if you bring a zabiha halal chicken, it's still haram, isn't it right? Because the money you are making from the haram source. Whom are we trying to deceive? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We cannot deceive Allah and Ahlul Bayt. We are deceiving our own selves. This is the sifat of munafiqeen in Surah Al-Baqarah. يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُم. They are not deceiving except their own selves. Isn't it right? And Imam said to him that ukhruj min jami'i ma kasabta. Get out of all what you earned. Look at the solution that Imam Sadiq displayed to him. Get out of all that you earned. Fi dawawinihim mimman arifta minhum. Whomsoever you know who was the owner of the money. Obviously, the Tawaghit used to loot the money, forcibly collect the taxes from people. If you know the owner of that money, you need to pay back the money to that owner. Isn't it right? If you don't know, then give sadaqah on the behalf of the unknown owner. وَأَنَا أَضْمِنُ لَكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ الْجَنَّةِ. And I guarantee for you the paradise. Imam al-Islam is guaranteeing for him the paradise. He was a pious person, isn't it right? Definitely he was. He went back to Iraq from Medina and he took off, he gave away, he sold, he gave away everything that he made from the job, including the clothes. This narrator says, I gave one of my clothes to him to wear, because even that clothes he made from the haram job of the taghut. He took off even those clothes. Everything that he earned, just gave away, like Imam said. And, you know, that's very hard, isn't it? People are not ready to even quit their haram jobs. Isn't it right? Honestly speaking, I travel almost every single week in the entire year, other than the month of Ramadan. And I stopped asking the jobs of the people. I never asked, you know, brother, what do you do? I never asked that question from anybody. That's not my job on behalf of Allah to search into personal lives of the people. Isn't it right? That's not my faridah. Because if somebody happened to tell me what he's doing, then I'm not the kind of person who will stay silent. उसके बाद लोगों के चेहरे उतर जाते हैं. You know, if somebody tells me what he's doing wrong, then I'm not the person who will stay silent. I will object on him, whether he likes it or not. So I never ask the people what they are doing. I never ask that question. That's not my wajib to ask in their personal lives. There's so much harams going on. And this is one of the very major reasons why we find that the children are not obeying. अब बच्चे कहना ही नहीं सुन रहे, पे हिंदुओं के साथ भाग रहे हैं, सिखों के साथ भाग रहे हैं, marrying with the kuffars, isn't that right? और 10 दिन के शिया थे, फिर उन्होंने 10 दिन में भी आना छोड़ दिया. क्या मुंह दिखाएंगे कम्युनिटी के सामने? तो ये ऐसे ही नहीं हो रहा haphazard way में. Nothing is coincidental in the religion of Ahlul Bayt. We don't believe in ittifaq and coincidence in the Shia Islam. Everything is well calculated, well defined, based on the divine wisdoms and reasons. We know it or we don't know it, that's a different story. He sold everything, and after a while when he died, this narrator says, I went to see the Imam alayhi salam again in Medina, and the Imam alayhi salam said to him, Ya Ali, wafayna wallahi li sahibika. I swear to Allah, we did wafa and we were faithful towards your friend, in other words. So Imam alayhi salam guaranteed the paradise and he was sent to the paradise. Please say salawat. So there is no room for a person to serve the taghut. You know, please say a salawat for Ayatollah Al-Uzma Sistani. Isn't it right? He did not agree to even talk to any zalim throughout his life. Even for 1 minute over the telephone. ये अज़मत है हमारे बुजुर्गों की. Even for 1 minute over the telephone. यहाँ देखिए कैसी कैसी चापलोसियाँ हो रही हैं, कैसे कैसी मक्खनबाजियाँ हो रही हैं, महाराजे का नाम इस्तेमाल करके, अब्यूज करके, अपने पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट महाराजे के नाम पे पूरे किए जा रहे हैं. So what Ayatollah Sistani does is what we learn, isn't it right? We know the policy of Rahbar already. So this is their policy. ये इन दरबारी मुल्लाओं की या इन दरबारी लोगों की policy है, isn't it right? It has nothing to do with the Maharaja or the leadership. That's what we need to understand. लोग कहते नहीं नहीं ये भी अच्छे हैं, वो भी अच्छे हैं, सारे ही अच्छे हैं. ये सारे अच्छे नहीं है, जो हक पे है वो हक पे है, जो हक पे नहीं है वो हक पे नहीं है. So we find that 9th of Rabiul Awwal was the day, according to narrations mentioned by Shaykh al-Muhaddiseen, Shaykh Abbas Qummi, that Imam Sajjad receives the news of the killing of the Ashqiya of Karbala, and he did the shukr towards Allah. When Imam Sajjad al-Islam is happy, obviously we will be happy as well. 80,303 Ashqiya were killed, according to some of the narrations. Obviously, this is not the complete and proper intiqam, because the complete and proper intiqam has yet to come. Who is the one who is going to take the intiqam? The hadith says from Sayyid ibn Ta'us, narrates the riwayat, when the event of Karbala happened, Malaika of Allah complained towards Allah. We have two things in ilm al-akhlaq, complaining against Allah and towards Allah. Complaining against God is the alamat of kufr. Ash-shakwa Allah in Arabic we say. Ash-shakwa ilallah. Complaining towards Allah is the alamat of iman. The angels of Allah complained towards Allah about this massacre. And Sayyid ibn Ta'us says, Allah, in other words, drew their attention towards Imam al-Qa'im alayhi salam. His nur among the anwar of Ahlul Bayt even at that time was in the standing position. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the angels, Antaqim bihadha al-qa'im. I am going to take the revenge through this qa'im. So Imam is called al-Qa'im alayhi salam, the riser. So intiqam has yet to come. And even in the time of the Imam, we have learned from the narration, there will be some Shias, some followers of the Imam, who will object on the Imam after he kills some of the enemies. And Imam will go on the mimbar and deliver his khutbah and take out the na'al and slipper of Imam al-Hussein stained with the blood in Karbala, in Ashura. Imam will take out the slipper from his pocket, slipper of Imam Hussein, and will say to his followers who objected on him, how shameful is that we find there are people who did not learn from the time of ghaibat that we should stop objecting on the Masoom. In Islam 101. So Imam will take out the slipper of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and he will say, if I kill all of them, I did not take the revenge of this. Can you imagine? So we find, obviously, the intiqam is yet to be taken. And it's a pride for a Shia that we raise our children in such a way that they are blind followers of Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam. So we find that the haqq of the Imam is not yet returned back to the Imam. Why the huzn and sorrow? Our scholars say, the narrator asked the Imam himself, why every Eid renews the sorrow and huzn for you? And Imam replies back, لأنهم يرون حقهم في يد غيرهم. Because certainly they see, that means the Imams see their haqq in the hands of others. I already told you, two aspects of the personality of the Masoom, what my teacher said. Shakhsiyat-e haqiqi, which is beyond our reach to even think of its highness. And shakhsiyat-e huquqi means the legal aspect. That means they are the wali and we are the muwalla alayh. They are the Imam and we are the Mamoom. That's what is related to me and you. Then we need to learn how to blindly obey the Masoom. That's what relates to us. This is the shakhsiyat-e huquqi, the legal aspect of their personality, that we are supposed to behave and learn towards the Imam. That's the haqqul walaya that Imam is talking about. Haqq of walayat, we say walayatul faqih means the government of faqih. Walayat means hukumat, isn't it right? So the haqq of walayat has been taken away from the Imams. नहीं मौलाना मिंबर से आप सियासत की बातें नहीं कीजिएगा. ओह अच्छा, मेंबर से सियासत की बातें नहीं होनी चाहिए. तो फिर सकीफ़ा वालों ने सकीफ़ा में क्या मौलाए कायनात से उनका दीन छीना था? दीन तो वो छीन सकते भी नहीं थे. किसकी मजाल है कि मौला से उनका दीन छीन ले? सियासत ही छीनी थी ना, कुर्सी छीनी थी. अगर सियासत और कुर्सी को आप, if you don't consider the government to be part of Islam and political obligations towards the walayat to be part of the religion Islam, then why do you condemn the people of Saqifa? They did not take the religion from Imam Ali alayhi salam. Nobody can take the religion from Imam Ali. All they took was hukumat. And you don't consider the politics and the hukumat and the political duties to be part of Islam anyway. So let them take. Then why are you condemning them? That's the reason why we find some people, if we find it hard to digest the walayat of faqih, because they find it hard, they fail to digest the walayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, precisely because of that fact. If they had understood the walayat of Imam Ali alayhi salam and its implications, तो फिर तागूतों के सामने चुप करके दब्बू बन के ना बैठे होते, बल्कि जुल्म के सामने आवाज बुलंद कर रहे होते. क्यों? क्योंकि यही हक है जो कि छीना गया है अहले बैत का. क्या फरमाया था मेरे मौला ने फरमाया, सलवात पढ़िए मोहम्मद. The hadith of the Holy Prophet narrated in Rabiul by Allama Qundusi, a very famous Sunni scholar. He says in his narration, the Prophet said that Ya Rabbi wa man awliya'i. Prophet said, "Oh my Lord, who are my awliya? Fanuditu Ya Muhammad, I was called upon, O Muhammad, awsiya'uka al-maktubuna ala suradiq arshi." Your awsiya and deputies are the ones whose names are written on the curtain of my arsh. On the curtain of the arsh and throne of Allah, the names of the awsiya and deputies of the Prophet are written. Prophet said, according to this narration, فَنَظَرْتُ فَرَأَيْتُ. So I looked and I saw إِثْنَيْ عَشَرَ نُورًا, 12 noors. وفي كل نور سطرا أخضر. And in every nur there was a green line. In every nur, where I used to love the green color, but not after the elections in Iran. So here we find in the narration, in every nur there was a green line. وفي كل نور سطرا أخضر عليه اسم وصي من أوصيائي. On that green line there was a name of one of my deputies. أولهم علي وآخرهم القائم المهدي عليه السلام. The first one is Imam Ali alayhi salam, and the last one is Imam al-Qaim alayhi salam. So this is about when we find the haqq of Ahlul Bayt are still in the hands of their enemies. Obviously it's going to renew their pain. Because every time people are celebrating, they find they are still in pain. Nothing changed in their life. Right? इमाम ज़माना को क्या सिर्फ उसी वक्त याद करना है जब मेरी बेटी की शादी है, मौलाना कोई दुआ बता दें, बच्ची की शादी करनी है, बेटा बीमार हो गया, मौलाना बेटा हॉस्पिटल में है. अब अहले बैत को याद करना है अपने सेल्फिश रीजंस की खातिर, या कभी इमाम ज़माना को इसलिए भी याद करना है कि मौला मैं आपके लिए क्या कर सकता हूँ. Is there anything I can do for your walayat? Imam has nothing to improve, isn't it? He's always kamil and perfect. That's the right perspective. इसीलिए देखें बाज़ लोग होते हैं इमाम ज़माना के बारे में पूरी तकरीरें हो रही हैं, अलामत ज़ुहूर बयान हो रहे हैं. I never talk like this usually in my speeches, except zimnan. There's the alarm of zuhur, the signs of zuhur is a secondary information on the sidelines that we have been told. That's not the focus. That should not be the focus of attention of any movement. Is that right? नहीं मौलाना वो ये होगा कि सूरज का ग्रहण, the solar eclipse always happens in the end of the month, and the lunar eclipse always happens in the middle of the month, and before Imam appears it will be the opposite. Solar eclipse will be in the middle of the month and the lunar eclipse will be at the end of the month. And I said to some people, brother, the sun and the moon are part of alamut takween. They're not part of alamut tashri. Isn't it right? We have alamut tashri, the world of the sharia, the legislature, the do's and do nots, which we, the humans and the jinns, are only part of alamut tashri. And every disobedience of Allah you find in the alamut tashri. In the name of freedom, democracy, women's rights, human rights, you name it, freedom of expression. All those deceptive slogans used by some Isn't it right? And there are some of us who are also fallen prey to the deceptive slogans because they had a vacuum in their own spirituality. That's why they have fallen prey. So we find that there is no disobedience in Al-Muttaqeen. The world of existence is around. They are perfectly obedient towards the Imam of time. And I said to the brother, the sun and the moon never disobeyed the Imam alayhi salam for a fraction of the second since they are created. They have nothing, the sun and the moon have nothing to improve. The sun and the moon are looking towards me and you, the Ashraf al-Makhluqat. Let us not look towards the sun and the moon because they have nothing to improve. We have things to improve. The day we will learn to improve, you will find the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse taking place according to what is narrated. Why it is not taking place? Because we are not doing our obligations. So it is sad that we humans start looking towards the alaim of zuhur, where the alaim are looking towards us, the humans. That's the wrong approach. Let us focus on our faridah towards the Imam. What are we supposed to do towards the Imam? That's the right thing. And I will end my speech on this one narration that we find this person comes to the Imam, Sadiq alayhi salam, and said, that, are you the Imam al-Qa'im? Are you the Imam who is the riser? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam didn't say to him, no, it's not me. I am Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq. No, it's my son, Mahdi will be born. His laqab and title is Al-Qa'im. Imam didn't say that, which his laqab is Al-Qa'im. But Imam didn't reply like this. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam instead replied back to him, Kulluna qa'imun bi amrillah. All of us stand for the amr of Allah, for the hukumat of justice of Allah, in other words. For the establishment of the kalimatullah supremacy, in other words. All of us, we all stand, kulluna qa'imun bi amrillah. We are all qa'im for the amr of Allah. This person still did not understand the point that Imam al-Islam is making. He still did not understand. So he says to the Imam that, anta sahibu sayf? And that means, we have heard so much, Imam Mahdi alayhi salam is going to appear with his Zulfiqars, and he's the Sahibu Saif. He'll appear with do the uprising and Qiyam with the Zulfiqar. So he said, that means you are the one who have the sword? You are the Sahibu Saif? Imam still did not say, no. I am not the one who have the Zulfiqar, will do the Qiyam with the Zulfiqar. It's my son Mahdi who is going to uprise with the Zulfiqar. Imam did not say that. Imam instead replies back, Kulluna sahibu sayf wa warasu sayf. All of us are the owners of the sword and the inheritor of the sword. He still did not understand the point of the Imam. Now the third question this person says to the Imam, the follower of the Imam, the third question. Some people are lacking the ma'rifat. The third question he asked Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Afa antal Mahdi? So that means you are Mahdi? Imam still did not reply, no, I am Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq. The Mahdi is not my laqab. This is my son who will be born. He is Mahdi. Imam didn't say that. Instead, Imam replies back, Kulluna nahdi ilallah. All of us guide towards Allah. Look at the fact how the Shia community, some people of the Shia community were far away from understanding the shakhsiyat-e-huquqi, the walayat and imamat of Ahlul Bayt. If the community had been obedient towards the wali of their time, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, we find the Islamic hukumat of adl and justice would have been established way before the government of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, in the time of our sixth Imam. The reason why government was not established at that time, because some of the Shias failed to do their responsibility. Isn't it right? Instead transferring our responsibility to the 12th Imam. नहीं ये तो मौला का काम है, आप मौला के काम में क्यों दखालत कर रहे हैं? अच्छा, यानी जालिमों को उनके जुल्म के एजेंडा को करने दें, बढ़ाने दें, आप चुप करके हाथ पे हाथ रख के चूड़ियाँ पहन के बैठे रहें, ना आप बिल्कुल एतराज़ भी ना करें, जुल्म में इजाफा होने दें, यहाँ तक कि इमाम का ज़ुहूर हो तो आप भी उन्हीं जालिम के हमरा खड़े हो ताकि इमाम को आपसे भी लड़ना पड़े. ये चाहते हैं. If the people have been performing their obligations, the haqq of the Aimma would not have been taken away. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us to understand the ma'arif of Quran and Ahlul Bayt. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to practice the ma'arif of Quran and Ahlul Bayt. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. बारहा परचम इस्लाम को सर बुलंद फरमा, परचम कुफ्र व शिरक और निफाक को सर नगूम फरमा, इनक़िलाब इस्लामी की हिफाजत फरमा, तमाम उलमाए रब्बानियीन, तमाम मराजे किराम बिलखुसूस रहबर इनक़िलाब का साया हमारे सरों पर बरकरार रख, तमाम मुजाहिदीन इस्लाम की तौफ़ीक़ में इजाफ़ा फरमा, तमाम मोमिनीन की जान व माल व आबरू की हिफाजत फरमा, तमाम मोमिनीन को वज़ाइफ़ शरइया पर अमल करने की तौफ़ीक़ इनायत फरमा, तमाम मोमिनीन की मशरूआ हाजात को पूरा फरमा, बानियान मजलिस के मरहूमीन की मग़फ़िरत, बानियान महफ़िल के मरहूमीन की मग़फ़िरत फरमा, बानियान महफ़िल की मशरूआ हाजात को पूरा फरमा। बहरहाल जो मोमिनीन इराक़ में ज़ायरीन की खिदमत कर रहे थे, उनके पाँव दबा रहे थे, अपने घरों के दरवाज़े खोल दिए थे अरबईन पे, उनको खाना खिला रहे थे, पानी पिला रहे थे, खुदाया उन तमाम मोमिनीन की तौफ़ीक़ात में इज़ाफ़ा फरमा। हम सब को इमाम सैयदुश्शुहदा अलैहिस्सलाम की ज़ियारत की हर साल तौफ़ीक़ इनायत फरमा। बाइलाहा हमें इस काबिल बना कि हम इमाम हुसैन के सामने अपना मुँह दिखा सकें, इमाम ज़माना के ज़ुहूर में ताजील फरमा, हम सबको उनके अंसार व अशिया में करार दे। रब्बना तक़ब्बल मिन्ना इन्नका अंतस समीउल अलीम बिजाहे मुहम्मदिन व आलिहिल मयामीन।